Okay, so looking at 8th grade math, quarterly review number 4. Multiple choice questions. Number 1, which of the following is equivalent to 5 cubed and the whole thing raised to the 4th power? When I have a power raised to a power, now this is equivalent to seeing 5 cubed written out 4 times, but for harder problems, I'm not going to want to do that, so I do need to know the shortcut here. A power raised to a power, what I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply the exponents to give me 5 to the 12th. If I wanted to write it out like this, when you multiply like bases, you add the exponents. So 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 12 as well. What is the slope of the line passing through the points 1, 4, and 3, negative 8? If you recall the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, I would label these points as x1, y1, x2, y2. When I go ahead and plug those into the formula, negative 8 minus 4 over 3 minus 1, and we simplify this, negative 8 minus 4 is negative 12, divided by 2. Go ahead and divide those, and we get negative 6, choice A. Which of the following is not equivalent to 1 over 27? Letter A here, I'm going to add the exponents since they're like bases. 3 plus negative 6 is 3 to the negative third. I can't have negative exponents. The way I would change this into a positive exponent would be to make it a fraction. 1 over 3 to the third power. 1 over 3 to the third is 1 over 27, so that one we cross out. 3 to the 7th divided by 3 to the 4th. When I'm dividing like bases, I subtract. 7 minus 4 is 3 to the third power. There's my answer choice right there, because 3 to the third power is 27, not 1 over 27. But just look at the other answer choices. We're going to multiply these. 3 to the negative third power, which is the same as choice A. And 3 to the 0 is equal to 1, leaving us 3 to the negative third, which is the same as A and C. Which transformation results in two figures that are similar? So the transformations that we have are listed below: translation, rotation, reflection, and dilation. But translation, reflection, and rotation all preserve distance and angle measure, meaning that they are congruent figures. Dilation is the only transformation that produces a similar figure. What is the equation of the line graphed below? Well, if you recall, our equation of a line y equals mx plus b. M is the slope, and b is the y-intercept. Taking a look at the graph to the right, we notice that it's a negative slope. Well, there's my answer right there. That's the only answer choice that has a negative slope. But let's take a look at the graph here. My y-intercept is positive 5. So I know I have to get plus 5 here. How do I get from one point to the next? So I'm looking how my rise over my run. So I go down 2, and I go to the right 1. X stays as X, Y stays as Y. Negative 2 over 1 can be simplified to negative 2x plus 5. Finding out what two integers the square root of 30 falls between. We're going to find out what our perfect squares are from here. So my number line, yes, it has from 3 to 11, but I'm really looking at what 3 squared is. So 3 squared is 9, 4 squared 16, 5 squared 25, 6 squared 36, 7 squared 49, and so on. So if I'm looking for the square root of 30, my number line has my perfect square, so 30 falls between 25 and 36, so between the integers 5 and 6 there. which system of equations is shown on the graph. So I have two lines. All of my answer choices, A through D, are in y equals. So I want to look for my slope and y-intercept. So let's look at the green line first. Okay, my, again, equation is y equals mx plus b. My y-intercept is positive 4. And how do I get from one point to the next? I went down 1, which is negative 1, and I went to the right 1, which is positive 1. That stays as x. Y equals negative x plus 4. Look at my answer choices. Negative x plus 4, that one checks out. Negative x plus 4, that one checks out. Choice C and choice D do not have those answer choices. Then we look at the red line. The y-intercept right here is 2, so I know I'm going to have plus 2, which should give me my answer choice right from there. And I went up 1 and to the right 1, so 1 over 1. 1 over 1 x. Again, y equals, look at my answer choices. Choice B gives me that. A series of transformations are performed on triangle A to form triangle B. The angle measures of triangle A are congruent to triangle B, and the side lengths of triangle B are 1/3 the length of triangle A. Which transformation must be performed based on the descriptions? So, if angle measures are congruent, that could be any one of the 4 listed below. Dilation, rotation, translation, reflection, all preserve angle measure. However, side lengths are preserved in a rotation, translation, and reflection. So if the side length was 1/3, it has to be a dilation. Which equation represents a nonlinear function? Well, nonlinear, not a straight line. Any term that does not have a degree of 1 here would not be linear. So we have 2x minus 1, well, that's a general equation of a line. 0.2x plus 0.7, general equation of a line. X squared, there's my answer right there, choice B, because it's raised to the second power. Choice D here, it's not y equals, but if I were to get it to be y equals, it would still have an exponent of 1. So that's going to be a linear as well. Find the product of 2 times 10 to the 7th times 4.1 10 to the 8th. This is scientific notation multiplying, but it's also exponent rules. We have like bases here. So when I have the same base, I'm going to add the exponents, 7 plus 8, 15. Look at your answer choices. We have to the 56th power and to the 56th. Those are the people who confuse adding like bases with multiplying. And we multiply, numbers act normal. 2 times 4.1 is 8.2, leaving us with choice C, 8.2 times 10 to the 15th. We also check to see if this number is between 1 and 10, which it is. It's in scientific notation, so we don't have to do anything with it. What is the y-intercept of the graph of this equation? 2x minus 4y equals 12. And I have to get it into y equals mx plus b form before I could determine what the y-intercept is. So we have 2x minus 4y equals 12. I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. They are not like terms, so they just go next to one another over here. Negative 2x plus 12. Let me squeeze that in. And I divide by negative 4. Y equals a negative divided by a negative is 1/2 x minus 3. My y-intercept is my b term, which is negative 3. In the diagram below, line R intersects lines M and N. What must the value of x be if measure of angle 2 is equal to 75? Let's label that on our diagram. And measure of angle 6 equals 11x minus 2 for lines M and N to be parallel. Well, if we look here, these two angles are corresponding angles, and these angles would have to be congruent if these two lines were parallel. So I'm going to set those equal to each other. I'm going to go ahead and solve for x. I'm going to add 2 to both sides. Then just write my work over here. 11x equals 77, and I divide by 11. X has to equal 7. Just make sure I'm answering the question, what must the value of x be for those two to be parallel? Choice A. The blank is always located across from the hypotenuse of a right triangle. Well, it doesn't make sense for it to be D, hypotenuse. If I did have a right triangle here, my hypotenuse is the longest side, and it's always directly across from the right angle. Which set of numbers can be used to find the sides as the sides of a right triangle? In order to figure out if a triangle is a right triangle, it has to make Pythagorean theorem true. So if I plugged my numbers in for A, B, and C, it would have to give me a true equation. Remember, the hypotenuse is the longest side, so that's always going to be C. So if I plug these in, 1 squared plus 2 squared equals 3 squared. I'm using a calculator, or I do it by hand. 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4. I get 5 equals 9. Okay, that's not true. 8, 10, and 12. 8 squared plus 10 squared equals 12 squared. Well, 8 squared is 64. Plus 100 is 164. Does that equal 144? No, can't be choice B. 2, 4, and 6. 2 squared plus 4 squared equals 6 squared. 4 and 16 is 20. Does that equal 36? No. By process of elimination, it's choice D. But let me just show you 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared. 3 squared is 9. 4 squared is 16. 25 equals 25. That is true. Sammy wants to buy a new headphones that cost $100. He currently has $40 and plans to save $10 per week. So I can make a linear equation here. Y equals 10x plus 40, where x is the number of weeks, y is the number of money he has saved. If my headphones cost $100, I'm going to set this equal to 100, and then I can go ahead and solve for x. I subtract 40 from both sides. 60 equals 10x, divided by 10, x equals 6. Which number is irrational, decimal, that doesn't end or repeat? Or a number that can't be turned into a fraction? Okay, 2.555, that's repeating, not irrational. Negative 12 is an integer, not irrational. 8.4, an ending decimal, not irrational. 2.149 ... keeps going, giving us answer choice C. If the slope of a line is undefined, then the line is what? Okay, is it slanted upwards from left to right? Well, if I drew this, it would look like that. That's a positive slope. Nope, not choice A. Vertical, okay, a vertical line, yes. That has an undefined slope, but let's just look at our other answer choices. Slanted downwards from left to right, okay, the opposite of choice A, so that's going to be a negative slope. And horizontal line, that is a 0 slope. So vertical line is undefined. Which graph is not a function? We're going to use the vertical line test. When I draw a vertical line, if it crosses through more than once, it is not a function. Okay, so here, a linear function that's not vertical is a function. Choice B, if I were to draw my vertical line anywhere on this graph, it is a function. C, I draw my vertical line, I hit in 2 spots, that is not a function. And let me just show you D, if I were to draw my vertical lines, they only hit once, so that is a function. Passes the vertical line test or fails the vertical line test is all I need. Extended response, you must show work for all parts of each question. Looks like I'm going to solve for x first. This is the exterior angle theorem, which says that this angle on the outside, the exterior angle, is equal to the sum of the two remote interiors. So my equation should be 5x plus 6 equals 49 plus 27. Okay, combine like terms, 5x plus 6 equals 49 and 27. That's 76. Then I'm going to go ahead and solve for x here. Subtract 6. 5x equals 70. Divide by 5, x equals 14. So that's the first part, x equals 14. And they do ask us to find the measure of angle ACD, plugging 14 in for x here, and simplifying, I get 76 degrees. The Lakers scored a total of 80 points in a basketball game against the Bulls. The Lakers made a total of 37 2-point and 3-point baskets. How many 2-point shots did the Lakers make? How many 3-point shots did the Lakers make? Write and solve a linear system algebraically. Be sure to use let statements to define your variables. So let's go ahead and say let x equal number of 2-pointers, and let y equal number of 3-pointers. So they scored a total of 37 baskets. So this one should be x plus y equals 37. The number of 2 points plus the number of 3 points has to equal 37. Then we have to use, if they scored 80 points, that's where we use our combination. 2 times x, the number of 2-point baskets, times 2, because each one is worth 2 points, and 3y, the number of 3-pointers, times 3. Okay, they have to equal 80. So I have my system here. I could solve this one of two ways, substitution or elimination. Me personally, I like using elimination, so I'm going to have x plus y. I'm going to just rewrite it equals 37. 2x plus 3y equals 80. I'm going to multiply the top one by negative 2 because I want opposites here. And I'm just going to rewrite this down here. So negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times y is negative 2y. Negative 2 times 37 is negative 74. Now I add downwards. 2x and negative 2x, they cancel out. 3y minus 2y is y. 80 minus 74 is 6. So I solve for y here. Y equals 6, which means 6 3-pointers. And I have to plug y into one of the originals. The easier one to use is the top one. Subtract 6 from both sides. X equals 31. For a system word problem here, I should say 31 2-pointers and 6 3-pointers in order to get full credit there. Solve the system using any algebraic method. You must check your answer. This one makes the most sense to use substitution. They tell me that y equals negative 3x plus 5, so I'm going to substitute that in for y here. 2x plus negative 3x plus 5 equals 6. I've eliminated, or using substitution, I've gotten rid of my y variable. Now I combine like terms. 2x, negative 3x is negative 1x, plus 5 equals 6. Subtract 5. Negative 1x equals 1. Divide by negative 1. X equals negative 1. I am not done. I have to plug negative 1 back into one of the originals. I'm going to plug it into the bottom guy here. Negative 3 times negative 1 plus 5. Y equals 8. My solution is negative 1, 8. And make sure you check your answer by plugging negative 1, 8 into both answer choices. Triangle ABC has vertices A, negative 1, 1, B, 1, 6, and C, 5, 1. Reflect your triangle over the x-axis, state the coordinates of the image. So a reflection here, I'm going to see these are equidistant from the x-axis. So A prime is going to be here. B prime, it's 6 units away from there, so it's going to be 6 units away from here. And C is 1 unit away, so it's going to be 1 unit away here. So the new triangle, A prime is going to be -1, -1. B prime is going to be 1, -6. And C prime is going to be 5, -1. Reflections, preserve distance and angle measure, so congruent triangles there. Translate the figure 7 units right and 8 units down. State the coordinates of the image. So I'm going to start with A. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 units down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So A prime is right there. A prime is 4, 0. B prime is going to move 7 units and 8 units down to put us right here. B prime, that's at 4, -6. And C prime is going to move 7 units to the right and 8 units down. That should put me at 1, -6. Is this transformation an isometry? Isometry preserves distance and angle measure, so yes. Translations. Preserve distance and angle measure. And the solutions to each equation to finish up here, I need to distribute the negative sign here, and I'm going to go ahead and distribute the 2 on this side. So x plus 5x minus 4 equals 6x minus 4. Combine like terms on the left-hand side. 6x minus 4 equals 6x minus 4. You do see your answer right here, but I'm going to go ahead and subtract 6x on both sides, giving us -4 equals -4. This is true, which means there are infinite solutions. And this side here, we have decimals. One thing we can do is we can multiply by a factor of 10. Looking at my decimals here, I have 1 decimal, 2 decimals, 1 decimal. If I multiplied everything by 100, that would eliminate all the decimals, making this 40x minus 120 equals 15x plus 80. Variables on both sides, I'm going to subtract 15x from both sides. 25x minus 120 equals 80. I'm going to add 120. 25x equals 200. And when I divide by 25, I get x equals 8. Feel free to pause this video, go back and rewatch it however many times you need, and hopefully that cleared up some confusion.